Manchester United signing Osimhen, Bayern Star moving to Barça, Guardiola puts half the squad up for transfer, Chelsea buying a World Cup winner, Paris Saint-Germain prepping 100 million euros for a top striker. We're talking about this and much more today. If this video gets 500 likes, it'll give us the motivation to keep making new videos. So, enjoy the watch, and let's get started. Emiliano Martinez to Chelsea sounds like something straight out of a transfer thriller. But is there any real substance to this, or is it just another rumour to fuel the rumour mill? Chelsea's goalkeeping position has been a real rollercoaster in recent years. Robert Sanchez, signed last summer as the number one, clearly hasn't convinced all the fans. His performances are sometimes like a lottery. One moment he makes incredible saves, the next he concedes soft goals. It feels like consistency is just a word in the dictionary for him. This is where Martinez's name comes into the picture, potentially becoming the answer to all the Blues fans' prayers. Martinez isn't just a goalkeeper. He's a brick wall who knows how to win trophies. A World Cup winner with Argentina, the hero of the final against France, and a Golden Glove recipient. And how many clean sheets does he have in his career? 60 shutouts in 182 games. That's top tier. But why would Aston Villa suddenly be willing to let go of their leader? The reason is simple: ambition. Under Unai Emery, Villa had a fantastic last season, qualifying for the Champions League. But this year, the team has started to falter and is currently only in 6th place in the Premier League. If they don't make it into the coveted top 4, keeping Martinez will be extremely difficult. Chelsea, on the other hand, are on the upswing. They're second in the league and seriously aiming for a return to the Champions League. Now, about the money. Martinez's contract runs until 2029, and Aston Villa certainly won't sell him on the cheap. But when has that ever stopped Chelsea? This club is used to spending big, especially when it comes to key positions. But here's the question: does Chelsea even need another goalkeeper? Won't this be another example of quantity over quality? Or does Sanchez really need someone to push him to raise his game? Martinez isn't just reliable, he's a leader who can be a voice in the dressing room. His experience and charisma are exactly what the young Chelsea team, being built under Enzo Maresca, needs. But is there confidence that the Argentine can adapt to the Blues' playing style? After all, playing for Villa and playing for Chelsea are two completely different levels of pressure. Now imagine this: the season is in full swing. Chelsea are in the Champions League and Martinez is carrying the team to the semi-finals. Sounds beautiful, right? But let's be honest, the transfer market is unpredictable. Today it's just a rumour, and tomorrow Chelsea might be slapping down a €50 million bid. What do you think? Should Chelsea take the risk and splash big money on Martinez? Or is it better to give Sanchez a chance? We'll be following this story and we'll definitely let you know if anything new develops. So, Barcelona are back in the dumps again. Or rather, not exactly at rock bottom, but definitely not where they should be. They lost to Atletico, and it wasn't just a loss. It was a proper thrashing. And you know, what's the most frustrating part? Their stats this season are worse than last season with Xavi. Can you believe that? Back then, after 19 games, they had 41 points, and now they're a whole 3 points behind. And then, out of the blue, rumours. The whispers from the corridors of power are back, suggesting Flick might get the boot before the end of the season. Are you hearing this? Flick, who they only just appointed. Are you serious? Are you out of your minds? I understand the Barca president is a bit unpredictable, but this is just absurd. Remember how he treated Xavi? This constant back and forth with decisions. He's leaving, then he's staying, then he's leaving again. It's like playing with a doll, not a real person, and a club legend at that. Poor Xavi announced he was leaving in January. And guess what? The team, as if by magic, lifted their spirits and started winning. So, of course, Laporta immediately changed his mind and started begging him to stay. Xavi, being the good guy he is, agreed. And then, bam, everything went downhill again. And what was the result? Xavi was sacked and they brought in Flick. And now, another turn in this madness? Flick is already on his way out? Honestly, it's a vicious cycle, a circus, a theatre of the absurd. And the main question is, where's the logic in all this? Let's break down the situation. Remember the state Flick inherited the team in? The squad was, to put it mildly, not great. Injuries were taking players down left and right. No Araujo, no Gavi, a gaping hole in midfield. He, poor guy, did his best to manage, playing youngsters who flourished under his wing. And what happened? At the start of the season, everything was fantastic. Top of the league, only one Champions League loss, a thrashing of Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, mind you. That's just incredible. When have you ever seen Barça so easily dispatch the giants? Usually they struggle against the top teams. They don't know what to do, and there you go. So, Flick clearly has coaching skills. And now, when the team has stalled, when their finishing is woeful, when Lewandowski is missing sitters as if he's possessed, they immediately want to change the manager? Hold on, maybe it's time to face the truth? Lewandowski has had 5 clear-cut chances to score in the last 2 games. And what's the result? 0. And he's supposed to be the team's main goal threat. So it turns out that the problems of one player, even a seasoned one like the Pole, are dragging the whole team down. And what? Now it's Flick's fault that Lewandowski has a mental block. Maybe the management should think about how to strengthen the squad, how to help Flick, instead of this constant changing of managers. Maybe they should focus their energy not on finding a new scapegoat, but on solving the real problems. Maybe it's time to stop shuffling managers like a deck of cards. Maybe it's time to let someone actually work. Or is it more entertaining to watch the team go around in circles and go nowhere? What will happen next? Will they sack Flick or give him a chance to fix things? Will Barca manage to get out of this crisis? There are many questions, but no answers yet. One thing is for sure. We're in for a rollercoaster ride, and nobody knows how it will all end. What do you think? Share your opinion in the comments. Let's discuss this madness. Mohamed Kudus might leave West Ham as early as this winter, with figures swirling in the press. 80 million euros, possibly 85 million euros in the summer. And it seems like the Ghanaian winger has only just settled into his new surroundings after moving from Ajax. But, as they say, we haven't seen him in a Hammers shirt for long. He showed up, shone brightly, and might already be on his way. What's the reason for this? Primarily, it's connected to the situation at Manchester City, where a clear crisis is brewing. 1 win in the last 12 matches. Can you imagine what that's like for the champions, who just yesterday were in control and threatening to demolish every opponent? And suddenly, bam! They're in 7th place in the table. The fans, it seems, can't believe their eyes, and Pep Guardiola, who's used to winning almost automatically, is looking for ways to shake up the team. Hence the question, could Kudus be the missing piece that will make the citizens shine again? Admittedly, there's a bit of irony in the fact that City, with their resources, are eyeing a newcomer from West Ham. Usually, it's the other way around. A team from the middle or lower part of the league table tries to snatch a missing star from a top club. But the Hammers themselves are under financial pressure. To make a big signing, they're forced to sell a valuable asset. Kudus is indeed a hot commodity, as the 24-year-old Ghanaian can operate on the wings, in midfield, and even fill the number 10 position if needed. Versatility is a modern football trend, without which it's hard to imagine a top club, but there are potential pitfalls. Yes, 80 million euros is a significant sum. The only question is how much West Ham is willing to concede from the notorious 85 to 100 million euros that's been mentioned as a benchmark. Is it worth it for the Irons to sell off one of their main assets right now? It seems like the Londoners haven't fully unlocked the player's potential yet, but the demands for the forward are already high. However, the financial realities of the Premier League set their own rules. If you want to strengthen, free up funds, otherwise you'll miss out on other candidates. Perhaps no one doubts that Kudus possesses immense potential. His ability to accelerate and change the direction of attack in a split second is a formidable weapon against any defense. However, the question of chemistry remains. After all, City are suffering not only from the absence of several key players, but also from a loss of team spirit. Can one newcomer, even such a talented one, single-handedly pull the team out of the mire? Or is a large-scale overhaul needed, with an eye on the summer transfer window? You might ask, what's the point for City to throw money around when they already have plenty of stars in their ranks, albeit injured ones? Even in an unfamiliar position, Guardiola sometimes manages to field pure midfielders, and it works. But the coach, like a chess player, can be unpredictable. Sometimes an unexpected move, like buying Kudus, turns the attacking line upside down, and opponents don't have time to adapt. Perhaps this is how Pep will try to bring back the element of surprise, without which his citizens of last season are unimaginable. On the other hand, there's also talk that Arsenal and Liverpool were eyeing Kudus. Frankly, it would be interesting to see how he would fit into Arne Slot's system. But the Reds have held back, and the Gunners aren't rushing to empty their coffers either. But City, according to Rumours, are seriously ready to go all in. Will Kudus be a saving grace or just a panic buy? Pep always likes to emphasize that he needs players with brains who fit into his concept of total control. The Ghanaian undoubtedly knows how to dazzle and create chances, but restructuring City is a more serious task than just one transfer bomb. As they say, if the champions want a second wind, they need a comprehensive reboot and strengthening in several positions. So, what will West Ham decide? The club owners will have to choose, either wait until the summer, but then KUDUS could be taken away for 85 million euros without much negotiation, or cash in now for 80 million euros and immediately throw all their efforts into buying a classic striker. And what will KUDUS himself decide? The guy doesn't hide the fact that he wants to compete for titles at a top club, but perhaps he still needs time so as not to become just another player on Guardiola's bench. The January window is ahead, which means the intrigue will only intensify. Will the Hammers manage to keep one of their main stars, or will City snatch another talent to try and regain their champion's shine? There's no clear answer yet, but the muffled hum of transfer talks can already be heard. And what do you think? Should KUDUS take the risk and make the move to the Etihad, or is it better for him to stay at West Ham and fully develop his style? Kylian Mbappé and Vinicius Jr. are two of the brightest diamonds in Real Madrid's attack. Sounds like a dream for any fan, right? But here's the problem. When these two take the field simultaneously, Real Madrid's attack turns into a chaotic kaleidoscope where everyone tries to shine but ultimately loses their precious sparkle. How can this be? Isn't this why Real Madrid signed Mbappé? Take a look at Mbappé's performance against Sevilla. Without Vinicius on the field, the Frenchman flourished. He scored a magnificent goal and resembled a predator, enjoying the freedom of the hunt. But as soon as you add Vinicius to this attacking mix, instead of a dream duo, we see dissonance. It's as if they are both playing different melodies, preventing each other from showcasing their best qualities. So here's a rhetorical question. Who is to blame for this chaos? Vinicius, who yearns to be the first violin and dreams of the Ballon d'Or? Or Mbappé, who is used to the entire team working for him? The answer isn't so obvious, but something suggests that Perez is already thinking about how to solve this dilemma. Now imagine selling Vinicius. Yes, the very one who has been carrying Real Madrid in crucial matches for the past few years. It sounds like sacrilege, but from a financial point of view, it could be a genius move. The Brazilian is worth as much as a small country, and his transfer would bring the club a huge amount of money. And most importantly, it would relieve Ancelotti of the headache associated with balancing the attack. Let's consider it. Selling Vinicius would not only free up space for Mbappé, but also strengthen weak areas, for example the defense and midfield. Just imagine, in the summer, Real Madrid signs 2 top defenders and 1 playmaker, creating a team that can dominate Europe. This is no longer a dream, but a very real scenario. And here, another question arises. Is Perez ready to part ways with the Brazilian? After all, Vinicius is not just a player. He is a symbol of a new era for Real Madrid. But if the choice is between team harmony and an individual star, logic suggests that it's better to sacrifice one for the success of the entire machine. The irony of fate, a club that is used to collecting the best of the best is facing a problem due to their abundance. So, what awaits Real Madrid? Will they manage to find a balance between Mbappé and Vinicius, or will one of them leave to conquer new horizons? The search for Barcelona's ideal winger has once again brought us to the name of Leroy Sané. And you know what's ironic? This guy could have been tearing down the wings at Camp Nou for 2 years already. But Barcelona's financial woes nipped the deal in the bud back then. History is repeating itself now, but with one significant difference. The situation at Bayern suggests Sané might become available. The question is, will Barcelona have the courage and the funds to close this transfer? Sané isn't just any player. His technique, speed and vision make him a game changer, as the Catalan press likes to say. And oh, how much Barcelona needs one now. Rafinha is good, of course, but this season he's more often drifting into the center. Lamine Yamal, he has cosmic potential, but the youngster's injuries are already raising concerns about squad depth, and depth is exactly what they lack. So, Sané is a potential answer to many of Barcelona's questions, except there's a catch, or rather a whole host of them. Firstly, money. Financial fair play is like that annoying neighbor who always has their hand on your light switch for Barça. Any move in the transfer market risks another no from La Liga. Secondly, Sané's salary. The German isn't cheap, and he's unlikely to agree to a pay cut. But doesn't he understand that Barcelona isn't about the money? It's about a dream, about status, about fighting for history. Although maybe I'm being too romantic. Now let's look at Bayern. Things aren't entirely smooth there either. SANÉ wants to stay in Munich, but his contract is nearing its end, and extension talks are stuck somewhere between "I want to" and "let's do it later." Why? Because the competition in Bayern's attack is a real battle for places. Gnabry, Coleman, Musiala, there isn't enough room for everyone. And if SANÉ doesn't get guarantees of playing time, he might wonder, what's the point? Chelsea, Tottenham, Manchester United, all these clubs have pricked up their ears. And that makes me wonder, will SANÉ return to England? Remember his years at Manchester City. The dynamism, the pace, the goals, the assists. Fans still remember him with nostalgia. Chelsea could definitely use some fresh blood on the wings, United need balance in attack, and Spurs under Postecoglou could even offer SANÉ the status of a leading star. Tempting, isn't it? But what will Leroy choose himself? Stay at Bayern, where stability is just a word on paper, or take a risk and start a new chapter in England or Spain? If he moves to Barcelona, it won't just be a transfer, but a symbol of the Blaugrana's return to the top. If he ends up in the Premier League, the competition for titles will become even fiercer. SANÉ is a player who can change the game for any club. And while we're wondering where he'll go, let's remember one simple truth. Big transfers are always a game of nerves, intrigue, and millions. What do you think? Which club will hit the jackpot? And will Barca finally outsmart fate and sign their game changer? Paris Saint-Germain has their eyes on Alexander Isak. Yes, that very Swedish Viking whose goals make Newcastle fans' hearts beat faster and opposing defenders nervously bite their nails. Luis Enrique sees the 25-year-old forward as the ideal weapon to conquer European heights. And you know, there's logic to that. Isak isn't just a goal scorer, he's a combination of technique, speed, and a deadly finish. A guy who can create a goal out of nothing, tear apart defenses with a single touch, and outpace defenders. And this is where it gets interesting. A sum of 100 million euros. A figure that makes your head spin. Paris Saint-Germain doesn't seem to be messing around, determined to sweep away all competition on their path to the coveted Champions League. But how will Newcastle react? A club that has only just begun to get back on its feet, find its identity, and build a competitive team. Selling Isak is like tearing the heart out of the Magpies. It's a blow to their ambitions, a slap in the face to the fans who are holding their breath, following every step their team takes. Of course, 100 million euros is a weighty argument. Money whispers tempting words about new acquisitions, about strengthening other positions. But can any transfer truly overshadow the loss of Isak? Luis Enrique isn't stupid. He perfectly understands that Isak is a player with character, who has been tempered at Real Sociedad. His performance in the Premier League is the cherry on top of his professionalism. But Newcastle doesn't seem to intend to give up without a fight. The owners of the Magpies are clearly not eager to part with their main star. Their goal isn't short-term gain, but long-term success, building a team capable of competing on equal terms with European giants. But here's the question. How does Isak himself feel? On the one hand, the offer from PSG is a recognition of his talent, a chance to play in the Champions League, to compete for the most prestigious trophies. On the other hand, he's a leader at Newcastle, a fan favourite, a person whose play largely defines the team's identity. To swap his cosy nest for the hustle and bustle of the Parisian metropolis, to trade the love of the Geordies for the cold calculation of the Qatari sheikhs. The choice, to put it mildly, is not an easy one. Yes, 100 million euros is a lot, but will that sum replace the emotional connection that Isak has established with Tyneside? Will new acquisitions be able to ignite the same spark in the fans' eyes? A big question. After all, Isak isn't just about goals, it's his pressing, his ability to drop deep, his interaction with teammates. He's a cementing element in Eddie Howe's tactical scheme. His departure could disrupt the fragile balance that has been so painstakingly built over the last 2 seasons. PSG's interest is, of course, a compliment to Newcastle. It's a recognition that they have nurtured a real diamond, but giving in to the temptation of easy money is a path to nowhere. Now is the time to show principle, to demonstrate that Newcastle isn't just a stepping stone for ambitious players, but a club with its own goals and ambitions. Will Newcastle be able to withstand PSG's onslaught? Will Enrique persuade Isak to change his registration? Or will the Swedish forward prefer to remain loyal to the Magpies and continue to write history with them? If you think Manchester City is experiencing a slight dip in form, it's more like a skyscraper collapsing. 12 matches, only 1 win. For a team that seemed invincible just a couple of months ago, this is a failure that goes beyond the word unexpected. And what is Guardiola doing? A reset. Half the squad could be on the chopping block. Not a shock? This is a full-blown revolution. Pep has decided it's time to start a new era. And you know what? He seems to be in a ruthless mood. Why has City found themselves in such a hole? Perhaps it's fatigue. Maybe they've fallen victim to the proverbial winning fatigue. Or simply, their cycle has ended. Whatever the reason, Guardiola sees only one way out: a massive overhaul. And we're not talking about a fresh coat of paint. This is tearing it down to the studs. The citizens have already set a new goal for themselves, simply to get back into the top 4. Simple, right? But does that sound like a goal for the reigning champions? But what else can you aim for when you're in 7th place in the table? For Guardiola, this isn't a collapse, it's a challenge. He's ready to get rid of anything that isn't working. And, according to Rumours, the list of players on their way out is significant. Who's under threat? Let's start with the veterans. Kyle Walker, at 34, is still ready to run, but it's not certain it will be at City. De Bruyne and Gundogan's contracts expire in 2025. Can Kevin return to his previous level after his injury? That's a big question mark. Gundogan, on the other hand, seems to be quietly seeing out his contract. Now, on to the younger stars. Bernardo Silva. This guy is any coach's dream, but rumors about his move to Barcelona or PSG have been circulating for years. Ederson? The Saudis are ready to shower him with gold. And the most shocking, Ruben Dias. Yes, the very central defender who was the linchpin of the defense. But City is ready to sell him? Why? To refresh the squad? Or is it just a desperate attempt to shake things up? But Guardiola isn't just a coach, he's an architect, and his new era, as always, will be built with ambition. 5 or 6 new players, that's not just a touch-up, it's a full-scale reconstruction. Who will they be? Youngsters, stars, or a mix of both? And most importantly, will there be enough money for it? After all, in the summer of 2024, the club was surprisingly restrained in the transfer market. Apparently, they were saving up for something big. And here's the main question: will Guardiola have enough time? His contract has 2 years left. Will they be his last? He himself has hinted that he might end his club coaching career. So, these 2 years are his swan song, and he wants it to be a loud one. But what if the reset fails? What if the new team doesn't gel? Will City tolerate Guardiola if the results remain the same? This is no longer just a question of restructuring. It's a question of survival. For now, we can only guess what will happen next. But one thing is clear, it won't be boring. What do you think? Should Guardiola be taking such a radical risk? Share your opinion in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to stay updated on the latest football news. Victor Osimhen and Manchester United. A dream come true, or another pipe dream? Rumours about the potential transfer of the Nigerian forward to the Red Devils are fueling the atmosphere, and each new day brings fresh details to this intriguing story. Let's start with the main thing. Manchester United, desperately trying to plug the holes in their attack, have already made contact with the players' representatives. Personal terms? Easy peasy. The difficulties begin when it comes to Napoli. The Italian club isn't planning to give Osimhen away for free and is demanding a hefty 75 million euros. But are the Devils ready to shell out that kind of money? That's perhaps the main question. Let's not forget that Victor is currently on loan at Galatasaray. However, his contract allows Napoli to recall the player if a lucrative deal looms on the horizon, and this is where the real drama begins. Chelsea and PSG also have their sights set on Osimhen. The competition is becoming increasingly fierce, and Manchester United, to put it mildly, isn't in the best position. Who wants to move to a club that's languishing in 13th place in the Premier League? But there are whispers that Marcus Rashford might open the door for the Nigerian's arrival. Rashford is reportedly ready for a new challenge, and his departure could offset some of the costs of Osimhen's transfer. What do you think? There seems to be some logic to it, but is it worth sacrificing one star for another, or is this a classic case of moving things around without making real progress? Another nuance: United are clearly hoping that playing in the Premier League will be the deciding factor for Victor. After all, which top forward doesn't dream of glory on English soil? But here's another problem. Can United provide him with that platform for growth? Or will Osimhen, like many before him, become a victim of the chaos reigning at Old Trafford? Meanwhile, Chelsea and PSG aren't standing idly by. The Blues have the money, but will Enzo Maresca unlock Victor's potential? And PSG? They already have enough stars who are struggling to share the ball. What choice will Osimhen himself make? It seems like a classic dilemma of choosing the lesser of two evils. Adding intrigue is the figure of Ruben Amorim, the new Manchester United coach, who is rumoured to be actively looking for a striker to fix the attacking line. Perhaps he sees Osimhen as a key player for his project, but are the Man United bosses ready to support his ambitions, considering the club's current financial situation? This isn't a rhetorical question, folks, but a very pressing one. So, what awaits us in the coming weeks? Will we see Victor in a red shirt with the devil on his chest? Or will this saga turn into another untold story of unfulfilled dreams? For now, we can only guess. What do you think? Is it worth the risk for United to go after Osimhen? Write in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the continuation of this gripping drama.